بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Alhamdulillah, we have tawfiq to continue our study of Uddatul Da'i wa Najah Sa'i by the late Ibn Fahd al-Hilli. As you remember, our discussion was about Tawakkul and different levels of Tawakkul. Throughout the discussion, we talked that one aspect of tawakkul and trust in Allah is not to ask people for help as much as possible. So now he wants to expand, he wants to bring more hadith about this point. We should be very hesitant to ask for help, but on the other hand, we should be very keen to offer help when we are asked. There is a beautiful hadith which is not in this book, or I don't remember, maybe in future, but it's not in this part at least. But it's about Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. That one reason why he was made Khalil, a friend of Allah, was that he never asked people for anything, but he also never said no to the people who asked him for help. So it's not that we don't also help people. We say you should not ask people, you should ask God. No. If people ask us, we will try to help them, but we should try not to ask them. فصل واعلم أن في قوله فإذا لم يسأل المخلوقين فقد أقر بالعبودية لله دليل على ضعف إيمان السائل وقوة إيمان الراجي. From what we had in the hadith, that if he doesn't ask creatures, people, ask su'al in Arabic sometimes is asking question, but sometimes is asking for help. Sa'il, amma sa'ila fala tanhar. Sa'il here means like beggar, someone who asks for help. This doesn't mean someone who asks question. So when he doesn't ask people for help, he has acknowledged servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are a servant of Allah, He is your Rabb, so He will help you. Don't ask others to help. So he says, from this we realize that if someone asks people, his Iman is weak. And if someone has hope in Allah, his Iman is strong. Inshallah, we will explain. We don't want, please be very careful when we read these things. We don't want to judge people who ask for help. Maybe it's necessary. It's about ourselves. Unfortunately, sometimes as soon as we hear something like this, we try to look around and say, okay, who is doing this? So this is the sign of weakness. No, we cannot judge. Maybe that person is really desperate. It's for us that as long as there is a way to be patient and just wait, don't ask people for help. So why this is a sign of weakness of Iman, if you ask, and strength of Iman, if you just have hope and wait, لأنه لما نفى أن يكون هناك معط غير الله أعرض بمسألته عن غير الحق. Because when there is no giver except Allah, then we should turn away our questions, our requests from people. Anyone other than Allah, we should not take our request to them. And when you do this, فَخَلُصَ تَوْحِيدُهُ, your tawheed becomes pure. وَتَمَّتْ عُبُودِيَّتُهُ, the servitude becomes complete. Now, we have many beautiful hadiths to expand on this point. This is one of the key points. For example, we have hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam about a famous ayah. The ayah is ayah 106 of Surah Yusuf. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وما يؤمن أكثرهم بالله إلا وهم مشركون. Most of them don't have faith unless or except they also suffer from shirk. Unfortunately, most of even believers have traces of shirk. Not that they worship idols, but still they are not purely muwahhid. So shirk is sometimes very clear and explicit, and sometimes hidden, which is shirk khafi. Mu'mineen, not true mu'mineen, but believers can also suffer from shirk. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam commented on this ayah. He said, هو قول الرجل لولا فلان لهلكت ولولا فلان لما أصبت كذا وكذا ولولا فلان لضاع عيالي. You see, sometimes, for example, people say, had it not been that so and so helped me, so and so gave me job, so and so gave me loan, I don't know, so and so, paid for my treatment, I would have been destroyed, my family would be destroyed, etc. You need to be grateful to people who help. You need to be appreciating. But don't forget that Allah is helping you through them. If you thank them and mention their help as wasila, as a channel, that's great. That is actually a sign of being a good mu'min. You need to be grateful to people. But if you think that they are independent, and if this person was not going to help, there was no way that Allah could help me, this is wrong. If Allah wanted, if this person was not there, He would send someone else. So Imam said, ألا ترى أنه قد جعل لله شريكا في ملكه يرزقه ويدفع عنه. He has put a partner for Allah in His kingdom that gives him rizq, defends him against difficulties and calamities. قلت فيقول. So the narrator says, should he say in this way, لولا أن الله من علي بفلان لحلقت قال نعم. If he says in this way, that had it not been that Allah obliged me, Allah had favor upon me through this person or with this person, I would have been destroyed. Imam said, this is good. So we don't deny the role of the people. Actually, Islamically, we have to be grateful to people. We should never forget, even if someone then has something little for us. We should always be grateful. But don't look at them as independent sources of goodness and etc. In another hadith, Imam alayhi salam said, شيعتنا من لا يسأل الناس شيئا ولو مات جوعا ولهذا السر ردت شهادته. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله شهادة الذي يسأل في كفه ترد. Our Shia are those who don't ask people anything, even if they are dying out of hunger. It seems that this is more about asking non-Shia, because Nas many times here means general public who are not Shia. But even asking the Shia themselves should not become a habit. It's better that you don't ask anyone for help. To the extent that it says, if someone is asking people by stretching his hand and begging, his testimony is not accepted. His shahada is not accepted. Although this is not a sin, but it is so negative that such a person's reliability is damaged. Because if someone is happy to compromise about his izzah and dignity by stretching his hand and asking for help, then what if some people give him money, for example, and ask him to give this testimony, that testimony, etc. Again, we are not judging about people. We are talking about what we need to do. Many people who beg might be genuine, many may not be genuine. We don't know. We shouldn't look negatively. Inshallah, we'll talk about it. Just, it's about ourselves. Be careful. And don't also encourage such phenomenon in the society that people get used to. Compromise about your dignity and, stop people on the street, for example, and ask for help, etc. There's a beautiful story about Imam Musa Sadr, that in the city of Sur in South Lebanon, which is a city that is mostly inhabited by the Shia, but there are non-Shia as well. There was a phenomenon of beggars being around in the city. And he asked all these beggars, after making some inquiry and research, he asked all of them to be collected. Some of them had ability to work. He encouraged them and helped them to work. Some of them had family members who could look after them. Asked the family members to look after them. Some were not able to work and had no one to support. He created for them some accounts and monthly was giving them. And then told people, don't give any money to any beggar. If you want to give sadaqah, put in some charity box, which was used to give to the people who were really in need. And alhamdulillah, this phenomenon of begging on the street finished in the city of Sur. So There can be true beggars, but it's better we arrange in the way that they don't need to do this. And this stops also people who are not honest. So, the lesson again is be very careful about your dignity and about your faith and trust in God. Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, on the day of Arafah, look at people who were asking others for help. On the day of Arafah, that Allah is so gracious and generous with the servants of Him, instead of asking Allah, they were asking people for help. He said, هؤلاء شرار من خلق الله الناس مقبلون على الله وهم مقبلون على الناس. These are not good people, because people are all going to Allah, asking Him, and these are going to people. In this day, you should go to Allah, not to go to people. وقال أبو عبد الله لو يعلم السائل ما عليه من الوزر ما سأل أحد أحدا. If the one who asks for help knew how much of burden this is putting on him, no one would ever ask anyone. On the other hand, وَلَوْ يَعْلَمُ الْمَسْئُولِ, if the one who is asked for help knew what is upon him when he doesn't give, no one would have deprived another person. So when you are asked, don't say no one should ask for help. No, maybe this person is really in need. These are two different things. It's like, for example, we should not expect people to thank us when we do something good for them. We should not expect them to thank us. But this doesn't mean that they should not thank us. They have responsibility to thank us, but we should try to do things without expecting any thank. لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. فصل في كراهية السؤال ورد السؤال. Now he wants to dedicate a chapter to this issue, that asking is makruh and rejecting the request is also makruh, is disliked. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, Man yas'alu min ghayri faqrin. If someone asks without poverty, he is not really in need. It's like eating fire. Imam Baqir alayhi salam said that, Wallah, by Allah, I swear, that no one opens to himself the gate of asking unless Allah opens to him the gate of poverty. So if without need, without being poor, you ask for help, then you really become poor. And in my humble opinion, it doesn't mean that necessarily they become, financially poor, but they become mentally poor. They cannot get rid of this begging. Some of them maybe become millionaire, but still they're begging. They never enjoy without begging. And some of them maybe actually become really beggars. Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam said, ضمنت على ربي ألا يسأل أحد أحدا من غير حاجة إلا اضطرته حاجة المسألة يوما إلى أن يسأل من حاجة. On behalf of my Lord, I guarantee that no one asks another person without need unless a day comes that he will become needy and then he has to ask. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم يوما لأصحابه. One day Rasulullah said to his companions, ألا تبايعوني? Don't you do bay'ah with me? Don't you give allegiance, pay allegiance to me? They said, we have already given bay'ah to you. قد بايعناك يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Rasulullah said, give me bay'ah that you don't ask people for anything. Allah tas'alun. So this bay'ah is different bay'ah. This is a bay'ah. One bay'ah is to become Muslim, one bay'ah is to become mu'min. So it reached a point that sometimes when some of them, for example, was holding his asa, his stick, and asa dropped. He was coming down from the camel, for example, and taking his asa and not telling people, please give me my asa. His own asa, but they were hesitant to ask someone else to take it and give it to them. I read that when Allama Tabatabai Rizwanullah Ta'ala alayhi's wife had died, then one of his daughters, who was the wife of the late Ayatollah Quttusi, was going part of the day to be with him so that he is not alone and she can, help him with whatever he needs. So she says, I was there and Allama was, busy with, writing Al-Mizan. And sometimes then he was himself going to make a tea for himself or, water, bring water. I was saying, Father, I am here to serve you. Please tell me it so that I bring for you. And he was saying, no, you are daughter of Fatima Zahra and I cannot ask you. So he was so hesitant to ask even his own daughter who was there just to help. This is the level of discipline that they have for themselves. The late Sayyid Hadi Khusro Shahi, who was one of the students of Allama, he is very well known. He has many books. At one point he was ambassador of Iran to Vatican. He was also ambassador of Iran to Egypt. He says that, many years, this is before revolution, he says, in the winter, once I went to the house of Allama and I saw they have no heat. They had to put, petrol, or we say, naft in the heater. And they didn't have anything at home. And the home was cold. He said, I went and brought for them because Allama didn't have money to buy. He could have asked people, to give him whatever he wanted, but he never accepted. Sometimes his students were offering to buy for him house. He was not accepting. It was towards the end of his life that he then had his own house in Qom. So this is a characteristic of movement that is very hesitant to ask for help. We should offer help. We should not let people reach the point that they become desperate and ask for help. In another hadith, Rasulullah said that if you are in need, it's better that you go outside the city, collect some wood, some logs, and put on your back and bring and sell, than asking people for help. There's a famous story, you must have heard this story. Imam Sadiq says that one of the companions of the Prophet was under financial pressure. His wife said, go to the Prophet and ask for help. When he went to the Prophet to ask for help, he heard the Prophet is saying, Man sa'alana a'tayna, wa man istaghna aghnahu Allah. Whoever asks us for help, we give. But if someone doesn't ask for help, Allah will make him rich. So he said, Rasulullah must mean ma ya'ni ghayri, means he doesn't mean except me. So he went to his wife and said, I went there, but Rasulullah said this. His wife said, Rasulullah is a human being. You must inform him. Meaning perhaps that, no, he didn't know that you are there for this purpose. So he went again, and Rasulullah repeated the same thing. Man sa'alana a'tayna wa man istaghna aghnahu Allah. 3 times this happened. So he didn't say anything to Rasulullah. He realized that this must be really about him. So what happened? He borrowed from someone a hammer, went to mount, and with hammer, managed to cut some branches of the dried trees, etc. Bring and sell and buy half a mud of wheat or flour of the wheat. Next day he worked, he purchased, for example, a hammer instead of borrowing. Little by little, he managed to buy things, he managed to buy, equipment, etc., to have a servant, and he became rich. And then he went to the Prophet, and the Prophet said, I told you, man sa'alana a'tayna wa man istaghna aghnahu Allah. Imam Baqir alayhi salam also said, if you bring your hajat to people, this damages your dignity, damages your haya. But if you try to be dispersed from what is in the hands of people, meaning you have no expectation from people, this is izzah for you. And he said, At-tama'u huwa al-faqru al-hadir. Tama' means when you expect from people. This is poverty which is present. It's a real poverty. There is a hadith that لا تقطعوا على السائل مسألته فلولا أن المساكين يكذبون ما أفلح من ردهم. Don't reject the request of people who ask. Had it not been that some of those who ask and beg are liars, then the situation would be very, very bad. No one who rejects the people who ask would have become happy, would have salvation and falah. So because some of them are liars, so there is a little of lenience with the people who reject and deprive. It's not excuse, but there is some lenience because some are liars. Otherwise, if all of them were honest, there could be punishment for the people who don't help. Even now there can be punishment, but that will be severe punishment. Another hadith says, when a sa'il comes, send him back with giving something. Don't send him back empty-handed. بِبَذْلِ يَسِيرٍ or بَذْلٍ يَسِيرٍ بِاللِّينِ وَالرَّحْمَةِ, with softness, with mercy. Robama, someone comes that is not really a human being or jinn, maybe an angel comes to test how do you treat the people who ask for help. Someone said, we were sitting close to the door of the house of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. A beggar came, and some people who were in the house sent him without giving help, rejected. Imam blamed them a lot. Imam said, أول سائل قام على باب الدار فسأله فرددتموه. The first beggar who came and asked, you sent him without helping. أطعموا ثلاثة ثم أنتم بالخيار عليه إن شئتم أن تزدادوا فازدادوا وإلا فقد أديتم حق يومكم. According to this hadith, Imam said, at least you have to give to the 3 people who come to your house that day. Every day, at least to 3 people. For the 4th, 5th, it's up to you. You want to give, you want not to give. But without giving to 3 people, you have not done what is needed for the day. If you want to fulfill the right of the day, at least you must give to 3 people who come. But these people were rejecting the very first person. So Imam blamed them. If the sa'il comes in the night, again, we should not read. Maybe in the night they don't have anything at home. Even hadith says that we give to the people that maybe not mustahiq, maybe they don't have need, maybe they are not deserving, but we give them because we are trying to not reject someone who is mustahiq. So it's better to give to those who are not mustahiq, so that those who are mustahiq are not rejected. Yeah? For ihtiyat, if you want to be on the safe side, even if you are sure that this is not mustahiq, okay. But if you are not sure, maybe he needs, maybe he doesn't need. You cannot say, maybe he doesn't need, I don't help. Maybe he needs. So it's better to give and Either he needs, alhamdulillah, you have given to a needy person, or he doesn't need, okay, alhamdulillah, at least you have peace of mind. I didn't reject someone who was needy. Someone who is needy is not going to suffer. Imam Zainul Abidin said, Sadaqatul layl tutfi'u ghadab al-rab. Sadaqah of the night extinguishes the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe the focus on the night is because people in the night cannot do anything. If during the day still they can work, they can have hope. This is now end of the day, everyone goes home, the streets will be empty. So if this person has need, what should he do? Imam also said to Abu Hamza, if you want your death become pleasant, you have a good kind of death. If you want Allah forgive your sin on the day of judgment, فَعَلَيْكَ بِالْبِرِّ وَصَدَقَةِ السِّرِّ وَصِلَةِ الرَّحِمِ. Be kind and benevolent, give sadaqah in private, and connect to the kinship. These three increase your life and stop poverty and remove 70 types of bad death. If you want to have pleasant death, so this is the way. Bir wa sadaqat as-sir wa silat ar-rahim. Rasulullah was asked which sadaqah is better. He said, ala the rahim al-kashih. The relative who is showing to you hostility. It says in the footnote, not showing in the bottom, in his heart, he has adawa. Yudhmiru laka al-adawa. You know that this cousin, for example, or this uncle of you or sibling doesn't like you, but he's in need. And his rahim, for the sake of Allah, give this person. Inshallah, he will change. So, giving to needy people, especially to the relatives, is very important. Also, when it comes to the time, Imam Bagher said, إذا أردت أن تتصدق بشيء قبل الجمعة بيوم فأخره إلى يوم الجمعة. If you want to give sadaqah, if it is Saturday, Sunday, Monday, okay, give it. But if it is Thursday, okay, one day before Jum'ah, delay till Friday. One day is not going to make too much difference for the person who receives. If there is emergency, of course, give him Thursday. But if there is no emergency, it's better to give it on Friday. Okay? If it is قبل الجمعة بيوما, before Jum'ah with one day before. Also, giving water to someone who is thirsty is very important. And Allah inshallah will give you from Rahiq al-Makhtum, from heaven. Or Imam Sadiq said, the best sadaqah is to make a liver which is burning water, make it cool. Thirst is one of the things that we need to have great concern and help people who are not able to drink, even for animals. Okay, inshallah bi'iznillah, in the next session we will talk about what should we do with respect to extra rizq or food. How should we arrange so that we don't have extra, or if we have extra, what should we do? Inshallah, we will talk about it next session. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alam.